Okay, a little update. I remembered the manager's name at the OK Corral where I played with the band High Times. His name was Eddie. Lisa and I can't remember. I know we lived at the house on 33rd and Vic. Lisa, my first wife, her name was Lisa Dowding. And her dad was the Speaker of the House in the NDP government. I was sort of an NDPer back then, left wing, but I'm totally right wing now. After seeing what Fraser Health does to people, that's a completely bumbling government-run organization. Anyway, another thing, we lived there. We lived at Marine Drive also with Lisa's parents when I first started going out with her. She had a little Volkswagen car. It was kind of a neat little car. I didn't even have a car then. I can't remember where I was living at the time. But we were dating quite a bit, and we loved each other a lot. And we used to actually, Lisa and I used to go up Grouse Mountain. We'd hike all the way up the mountain. I remember laying up there naked with her up. Her dad had a little cabin up there. There was only 5 or 6 cabins ever built up Grouse Mountain, and he had that cabin. We just loved it up there. You could see the whole view of Vancouver. It was so nice at night. All the stars, and the air was fresh. There was lots of birds. We used to make love lay out naked on the porch there, and we had a lot of we had good love making. Lisa and I, we were great together. Anyway, we lived at Marine Drive with the parents, and I remember one time I had a jam there with Willie McCalder from Willie and the Walkers came over, Gowan and me playing guitar, and Danny Tripper, who is my very favorite guitar player ever out of Vancouver, and maybe even in the world. He played in Fireweed, and he was actually started as a drummer, but he did a lot of everything, drugs, acid, drinking, everything, but he's my favorite guitar player, that guy. I love his style. He ended up in a band hosting the American Jam for years. Him and Doucette had a Jerry Doucette, who Mama Let Him Play, big hit. He recorded at Mushroom Records. They used to run a jam. Danny always liked my guitar playing. Most people didn't accept me as a guitar player. They wanted me to play drums all the time. And I refused to play the drums. I wanted to be a guitar player. And Tripper always let me play guitar. He always get me up and say, "Here, take my guitar," and he'd give me a Stratocaster, which I couldn't play. And at the American Hotel, and I'd get up there and play. But he always liked my style, that guy. I liked him too. And I guess in those days, I don't know, can't remember exactly where I was living, if it was, we were living at Dogwood. I think I was playing in home cooking still. And I went and I got Ray O'Toole, and we went to, for some reason, I guess I talked Daryl B. into giving me a chance to record because I was on my own then. I was sort of branching off on my own. I don't know if I think home cooking had split up. Maybe I'd been with High Times. I can't remember the sequence. But anyway, Daryl B. liked my songs and my songwriting. He was always good to me. So we went into Mushroom Records, where Hart recorded all their big hits, and Chilliwack recorded there, Jerry Doucette recorded there, Jason Hoover recorded there. They were the biggest recording place, and Daryl B. took me in there. Rolf Henneman was the engineer. Daryl B. produced it, and I recorded a song called Chasing a Dream, and I can't remember the flip on it now. I'll look it up later. Chasing a Dream, I always thought should have been a big, big hit, but it got me on the road because Ray O'Toole played a great guitar spot on that, and I can't remember who we used for bass. Jerry Adolph from Chilliwack played the drums. I didn't play drums on it for some reason. We're always afraid in studios to play, even though I was a great drummer. I don't know why, but anyway, I wanted to be a guitar player. So Chasing a Dream came out on the radio, and it got quite a bit of airplay all over the place, but not enough to throw me over the top. And in the meantime, I guess I was playing in a band part-time. A band had myself, Jim Fraser, Rick Clark on drums. Jim Fraser played the bass. He was from the High Times band. And Neil Harnett, or called himself Neil James sometimes, he was a really good singer and great guitar player, but kind of never quite liked his personality too much. He was pushy and jealous of me being the leader of the band. I shouldn't be saying that in case he ever listens to this, but who cares? Anyway, Neil's a star in his own right, and he deserved to have his own band. That's why he wasn't happy, and eventually he recorded an album himself and got nominated for the Junos like I did. So that's everything worked out in the fine. But at the time, there was always tension between him and me. But it was a really good band, Shakedown. We played all over town, and we went in the studio also and recorded a song called "Days Go By," and one of Neil's songs called "Showtime," and then "Bringing It Back from Mexico," and another, "As Days Go By" was a really good song, and then "Good to Have You," which was a song that I wrote too. And I think we did, I got this whole session of songs where I wrote Mystery Woman and all these, but I don't think we recorded them at Mushroom Records. But Days Go By we did, Good to Have You. And when Home Cookin', actually, Stan Bell, the steel player, recorded a song there too. But Good to Have You, I wanted to have Days Go By go out as a single, but after Chasing a Dream, but Daryl B. was still involved with me, and then Good to Have You was a real commercial sounding song, and he was sort of tied up with Ray Pettinger, who owned Casino Records, and Ray Pettinger, Daryl B., and Gary Taylor, who owned Gary Taylor's Lounge downtown, full of dancing girls. God, there were some beauties in there. They were involved with some pilot that was smuggling cocaine into Vancouver. He ended up get busted and took the rap for those guys. But that's where they were getting their money. But they were, every time I went to Gary Taylor's, they'd always leave me waiting. They were all in probably partying and doing coke with the girls. And Daryl B., he used to drink a lot. I forgot to tell you, back in the Northwest Company days, when we were still the five-piece putting out records, we used to go down to Seafun and go on air live with Daryl, and all these girls would phone up and want to talk to the band, and he used to let us go on air with him. So anyway, I could never get a hold of Ray Pettinger. They had Foreman Young Band, and he'd signed them to Casino Records, and he had Bim. Bim was his big act, Ray Forbes, who I always liked Ray Forbes. I liked his music. He became quite big. And Ray Pettinger was another fucking pissed me off guy. He'd always put me on hold, phone me tomorrow, I'm really busy now, one of those guys. Yeah, I'm really on the run right now. Asshole. Anyway, Andy DiMartino got involved with him. Andy was from Los Angeles, and he was a great producer, and he got involved with these guys. And as did Bill Crompton, who was from England. He was from him, and John Schroeder had Harbor Records over in England. And Andy heard my song Good to Have You, and I was with Shakedown then with me and Jim and Rick and Neil Harnett. So he took us up to Edmonton, and we recorded Good to Have You up there. And we also recorded Days Go By up there and put it out as a 45. And it started getting pretty good airplay. That's how I met Andy DiMartino. Andy had a history he produced that song Rhythm of the Rain for the Cascades, which was a huge hit back in the early 60s. Hear the rhythm of the falling rain, telling me what a fool I've been. And he also produced Captain Beefheart and all kinds of other people. And I'll go into that more when I talk about Holiday in Hollywood. Anyway, we also went up to Fort McMurray. I think it was the same band with Neil. There was a lot of tension in that band. He wanted to have songs on my next album, and or maybe that was Mike Hanford, one of those two guys. Mike Hanford, I never got along with him either. He was from a band, I think, called 49th Peril out of Winnipeg. But anyway, that's how that got started, and that's how I ran into Andy DiMartino, who heard my song Good to Have You, and he finally was having the runaround with Pettinger. Ray Pettinger was spending all kinds of money, and Andy was telling me that, he was going down hiring limos in Los Angeles. He was getting money from here and there and front money, and those guys are a bunch of crooks. They'd get your power of attorney and go and make deals, and you never know what happened. Andy knew how to do that too. But anyway, Andy said to me, I'd signed with Casino Records, and he said, you know what, Ray's, you're going nowhere with that company. I think you got a lot of talent, and I think you better come with me to Los Angeles, because what happened is Ray was still involved in the thing, and Andy took me to Los Angeles, and I recorded 3 songs down there. And then Andy and Ray Pettinger, they were all fighting between each other about who was getting to record next. Like Al Foreman and them never got to go down, I don't think, to LA and record. Bim might have, I don't know, but Andy took a liking to my music, and so he finally got so pissed off at Ray Pettinger for blowing money in the wrong way and not knowing what to do and putting me on hold all the time. Andy said, Richard, I'm going to take you down to LA, and I'm going to hire all the guys, and I'm going to fix it up for you, and we're going to record an album for you, and you forget about Pettinger. You sign with me, Dynamite Records, and I'll fight with Pettinger on the side. So that's the end of that chapter right now, and I'm going to start on the whole new thing with Andy, okay?